What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. In today's video, guys, I want to talk about the worst legendary champions in every single faction. Now, I would love to see Plarium buffing more champions every single month, rather than just 2 per month. We have a lot of champions that are either OG champions, vanilla champions, either newish champions that kind of like suck. They don't really have a purpose. They don't really have a place in the game, right? They don't really shine anywhere. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as well. Before I do want to mention one more thing, guys. Make sure you guys go and basically revisit the champions that you have and review the champions. Give them the rating that you consider is fair. Usually, at least that's what Plarium said, this is one of their main things that they are looking at when they are considering in buffing champions. So it will be really, really important to make sure that you guys go and basically rate the champions. If the champions suck, just go and just give them the rating you think they deserve, right? So like this, Plarium will actually act on it ASAP, or at least let's hope so. Now, as I was mentioning, some of you guys might agree, some of you guys might disagree with me, but I really think that a lot of these champions don't really have any purpose in game. Now, I know a lot of you guys will be like, Skratch, this champion is good for progression. It helped me in this dungeon, it helped me in arena, it helped me in God knows what, Doom Tower, etc. The thing is, 99.99% of the champions in the game will be able to help you with the progression. The main thing is, once you're done, once you're past the progression, these champions become completely irrelevant. Even in the progression, you can just get in epic champions, in some cases rare champions, and overall have better value. So, as I've mentioned, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. Starting with the Banner Lords first. Now, we have a couple of contenders in here, in my opinion, that are kind of like for the title of the worst legendary champion in here, because even though we have so many different areas in the game, Curse City, you have the Siege, Doom Tower, Faction Wars, Arena, a million different game modes, they just don't belong anywhere, okay? So from this faction, I have 2 of them that I'm kind of like in a pickle with them. We have Hellier, and then we have Richthof. Now, I really think that Richthof sucks more than anyone else, in my opinion, because he's just not really good for anything, right? Destroys the target's HP, big deal. Then you have a triple hitter with a chance to land poison and basically attacks an enemy, right? No passive. This is not even an AoE skill either to land poisons on everybody. You can just pick an epic champion that will land AoE poisons and you're going to get much better value out of the champion. Not to mention his base stats are honestly horrible. 95 speed, very low attack, good HP though, good defense, but everything else feels pretty low. So I feel like, yeah, this is just fair play. I would rate this champion 1 on every single one of them, but I'm not gonna waste time right now to do it for every single champion while I am trying to basically do the video, but this is the weakest in my opinion. Now, I feel like they could change a lot of things on him. If they really want to keep him a poisoner, they can definitely make him work better, do some AoE poisons, ignore some defense, do some more damage, right? Make something interesting out of him. Who knows? Maybe they could potentially make something for arena with him. Ignore Stone Skin while the enemy is under poison. You pair him with a Calvalax, and bang, you could find some more niche uses for him, even though that's very niche as well. But you do have an option to basically do something different. Poison doesn't land on Stone Skin either, so that's another thing actually. They need to make something like the poisons can land on Stone Skin, he will ignore the Stone Skin if they are under poison, or just make him a good PvE champion. Moving on to the next one, guys. From the High Elves. Right here, to be honest, is not such a hard fight in which one is the worst legendary champion from here. I feel like, yeah, Pixniel kind of sucks. They buffed her 2-3 times. She's still not great, but at least she offers you some form of a support. Elenaril, she's still pretty good for poison detonation and all that, unresistible HP burn. I feel like Alexander wins the crown in here. I don't think they'll ever buff this champion, to be honest with you guys. He was introduced in a similar way like Ninjas. This is some Counter-Strike player or something like that. He just doesn't do anything. A freeze on the A1, AoE defense down. I mean, big deal, right? You can bring in a rare champion to put an AoE defense down. His damage completely sucks as well. And this skill is pretty weak as well. Now, the base stats don't look pretty bad, to be honest. Good speed, decent HP, attack, and all that. But his multipliers are weak. He just doesn't really do much. I wouldn't use this champion. I haven't built him. Like, I don't have books in him. I'm not planning to build him. I really don't think he's going to be great in any content, right? Like, you have much better champions that will land defense down as well. Royal Huntsman, and I can bring in a massive nuke after. So it's really no point. The good thing is that nobody can get this trash anymore. So if you're a new player and you're wondering, can I still get the trash? Thankfully, you cannot, okay? Thankfully, you cannot get this champion anymore. They really made this guy really dirty, okay? So when they announced the champion, that guy got pretty hyped, played the game, but they've made him dirty because this champion really sucks. Like, the weakest in this faction, in my opinion. Moving on to the Sacred Order. So right here, we have a bunch of legendary champions. It is a massive list, to be honest with you guys. And while some of you guys might argue it and say, well, Skratch, you know, some of them are actually pretty decent. You can definitely gain tons of value from some of them because we do have pretty strong champions. It is pretty hard to pick the worst out of this list. We do have Gretel, Hansel, which recently got released, and we really thought that they were going to be better, but honestly, they're not. They're just not that great. Abyss, which is not amazing either, to be honest. She could definitely do with a bit of a buff. But personally, I feel like for a Void legendary champion, in my opinion, the weakest is Supreme Aethel still. So she got a buff a while ago. I feel like it's just not enough for a Void legendary champion, especially as a starter champion. I don't know why they're always doing Supreme Aethel dirty. Why they're doing Aethel dirty. Dark Aethel sucks. Out of all of the starter champions, I feel like she is the weakest one in the rare version as well. But either way, you have a chance to basically do an AoE if their enemies under a freeze, because you're going to be able to attack them as well. AoE freeze right here. Ignore strength and ally protection and unkillable buffs if they are under a freeze, and it's going to ignore 20% of the target's defense. And you have the self buff skill, which is nice. So let's just say, yes, you get some control out of it. You get a freeze, which can help you. But once again, once you're done with that progression where you need a bit of a freeze, she's not really going to be helpful whatsoever. She has still very weak multipliers. At least Abyss will bring you an AoE defense down. She can somehow deal almost like an enemy max HP damage, which can put in better numbers. She doesn't hit too bad, I would say. Yes, I would love to see her buffed as well. But I feel like for a Void Legendary, it's such a bummer to basically summon Supreme Aethel. Don't get me wrong, we have quite a few different ones in this faction that need a bit of love. Moving on to the Barbarians. So right here we have as well tons of champions. And to be honest, it's not that hard to pick the two worst champions from here and kind of like be okay. This one seems to be weaker than the other one. So Rorik and Rav Matab, in my opinion, are the worst. Overall, I feel like Rorik is the ultimate worst, right? You have the double hitter with a chance to stun, attacks an enemy, is very conditional on how you can actually manipulate the turn meter, which is really not helpful. And right here, attacks an enemy only as well. Then you have the passive, and you have a speed aura. The best thing in his kit is basically the speed aura. I feel like other than that, he was a fusion champion as well. So I feel like he's really underwhelming for a legendary. Maybe remove this part of being unconditional, make it an AoE, place that stun basically with no condition, manipulate the turn meter as well. That would be really nice. And it won't be broken. It won't be like, oh my god, I'm going to use this champion everywhere. But it will 100% give you much better utility for Curse City, Faction Wars, Doom Tower, So no matter when you pull him, you could always consider in using him, right? I feel like definitely something that they should probably do. Ogryn Tribes. We do have a few interesting champions in here as well. Gurda is a free daily login champion. I feel like weaken, some poisons, a bit of a support in here. Definitely not the worst in my opinion. Now Crackling is a new champion, and I just don't like him at all whatsoever. I feel like he really sucks as well. But I want to go for an OG champion that probably a lot of you guys are keeping in the vault for a long time. I know Crackling is a new champion. They're definitely not planning to buff the champion anytime soon. So, War Mother. Yes, she got buffed maybe 1,000 times. She was my second legendary champion that I've pulled in the game. And oh boy, I was so freaking disappointed. Basically, she's a bomb champion. She does AoE attack, bombs for 2 turns, damage inflicted versus bosses increases by 100%, which honestly is barely noticeable. With this skill, she can actually instantly detonate the bombs if the champion is under an increased attack. So that's conditional as well. No extra turn mechanics, like comparing her with Gnishak or with other bombers. I mean, they put her to shame. They make her look like a rare champion more or less. So the multipliers themselves are just not great either on her skills. So the bombs don't really do a lot of damage to be like, okay, I'm going to use her in arena. She could potentially do work. Unfortunately, is not the case. And the main reason is she's such an OG champion. And I feel like, oh man, we should definitely have at least one freaking spot for her in the game to do something where she actually stands out. I would increase the multipliers, and most likely I would do something like if she lands the bombs on all the enemies, gains an extra turn or something like that. It's still conditional, still not the best outcome, but at least she could potentially be better. And if you really want to make her have a use versus bosses, right? I would probably increase the damage versus bosses by 300-400%, and it still wouldn't be as noticeable as enemy max HP or different champions like that. Plus, that would actually give us the option to have different strategies when new event dungeons come out and stuff, because not everybody's gonna use loot everywhere. Bombs could potentially be good from War Mother, you know? Hey, something to think about. Lizardmen. So right here, guys, we have a few champions that are pretty weak. So Vergamkar is not great. Basara is not that great either. He's a Doom Tower champion. Pretty weak. Roxam as well. I feel like out of all of the champions, I would like to see Razin getting a buff the most, because he is a fusion. Everybody in the game that starts playing will be able to get Razin. And I feel like he lost so much value. And the main thing that really bugs me off is 91 speed, okay? Increase that freaking speed, Plarium, to give him 100, because lizards should be fast. I haven't heard of a super slow lizard just yet. Maybe if they're sleepy or something. But either way, only single target defense down and weaken, which can help in clan boss early on, can help you versus some bosses, don't get me wrong. This skill is on a very long cooldown, 6-turn cooldown. That's why I picked this champion over other ones, guys. It's nice that you can drop the turn meter by 100%, but in the name of God, make it on a 4-turn cooldown or something, so people can actually use the champion. People want to build the champion. I feel like if you start playing today, by the time you're going to collect all of the champions you need in order to fuse Razin, you're going to be like, hell, I don't even need this champion. Why would I bother to fuse him, right? Why would I bother to put so many books in him? Because it's pointless. So I feel like he really needs a buff. Maybe slightly higher defense, higher speed, reduce the cooldown of the skill. This would be nice if it would become an AoE, to be honest. And people would use Razin once again. Moving on to the Skinwalkers. You know what? I feel like here as well, Warchief recently got a buff. We have Hakon that recently got a buff as well. I feel like, in my opinion, and it kind of like was like this since the beginning. I never really liked the champion, and I'm still gonna go and pick Norog. He was my very first legendary champion in the game. So imagine that. Skratch starts playing, the the very first legendary he drops is Norog. Look at him. Ugly, okay? The second legendary I pull, War Mother. I was like, that's it. This game freaking hates me. I was really looking to get a Kaimar, a Battle Khazar, because they look so freaking badass design-wise, right? But that's what I ended up with. And to be honest with you guys, since that day, I haven't really used Norog for anything. Block active skill on the A1, block buffs, nothing else, and the passive, okay? He doesn't do anything. He's not going to shine in any content. Yes, you can use him as a stun target in the clan boss. I mean, let's be real. 5 years ago, it would have been a good idea because we barely had any champions that were really strong in the clan boss. In today's game, I mean, clan boss became fairly accessible, fairly easy for the majority of the players, right? And yes, it's still a bit of a struggle early on, but you're quickly going to be able to build a much better team without using Norog. So it's kind of like waste of space. Maybe make a block buffs, a defense down, or a block buffs, a hex, a block buffs, an HP burn, so people can use him in Hydra. Because he only has 2 skills, right? This right here could become an AoE decrease speed or a decrease attack, something to be viable in the Hydra clan boss. Then the passive, make him immune to fear, true fear, and all the rest of the crowd controls, and somehow enhance all of the team, you know? I don't know, the passive needs to benefit the entire team. Defense aura is probably the best thing on him, but it's only for dungeons, so it's not really going to be as helpful. Let me know what you guys think about Norog, right? I know there are some Norog lovers out there. Then, moving on to the Orc faction, guys. Now, here we have a lot of bad champions. I'm not gonna lie, we have a lot of bad average champions that, to be honest, they don't really do much in the game. I feel like the one that I really think is the weakest, in my opinion, is Danug, right? I'm not even sure if this is a Doom Tower champion, or you're just summoning him. Base stats are not looking bad or anything like that. Very curious to see the reviews. The reviews are spot on. Exactly what I thought. 1. So, with A1, he has a chance to basically land a defense down. If they are under fear or true fear, that chance increases. With the A2, you have an AoE attack with decreased accuracy and a chance to land through fear. If they're from the High Elves or Dark Elves, this cannot be resisted. And with this, ignore attacks one enemy and will ignore shield. He just doesn't do much. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. The passive is fairly weak as well. The skills are weak. Decreased accuracy and true fear. Not very reliable crowd control. Not reliable damage or anything else coming from this champion. To be honest, I would most likely, if I'm not looking to make this champion a damage dealer, even though he is an attack-based champion, which means that he should be a damage dealer. He's not a support champion to just debuff, right? Probably higher multipliers, give him some effects to basically maybe ignore defense, ignore some of the crazy buffs that we have in the current meta in Arena. Like, he needs to do a lot of things. A massive rework is needed on this champion, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think as well. I feel like decreased accuracy is pretty irrelevant in the day-to-day content. It's nice to have it on the Hydra. It's nice to have it on the Chimera, maybe even as well. You need it for trials and stuff. But I feel like other than that, it's not really going to benefit you that much. And it just doesn't fit in any teams for any bosses in the Doom Tower either, right? Maybe if they will try to make the kit to be more Hydra friendly or something like that, that might benefit the champion. Either way, let's move on to the next faction. We still have 7 more factions. Demonspawn. Now, right here, we actually have a lot of champions that are good. A lot of champions can be used. It's really hard to pick one of them from here, to be honest, because either one of them will either help you in the Curse City, and they belong to a place, right? They can help you either in Arena, they can help you in different areas, like Lord Shazar deals crazy good damage in the clan boss. Morto Macab lost a lot of value, but I feel like he can still be pretty useful in Tag Team Arena and other areas, even lower tiers of Classic or Live Arena. I feel like, in my opinion, the weakest champion in this faction is going to be Vassal. So you are getting this champion from the Doom Tower. I am still using him probably on one stage in the Curse City, I could drop the champion from there and have no issues whatsoever. HP burn on a target if they are under True Fear or decrease attack, really conditional. AoE attack with True Fear and decrease attack on a 3-turn cooldown, so this is not too bad. And then equalizes the HP of all allies on a 4-turn cooldown. So other than that, he's not doing much. It's not necessarily like, okay, I'm not doing anything at all, because as I've mentioned, he is decent-ish. This faction doesn't really have a lot of bad champions. Scorit can be used for Hydra, Dragstar is great, Countess Leaks can be used as a crowd control champion in many different areas, and overall I feel like Vassal would need a bit of love. Maybe a nice HP burn somewhere, or something to make him a bit more interesting, an unresistible True Fear with decreased attack and something else next to it. It shouldn't really be just this, but I feel like they will never really buff the Doom Tower champions, right? Let me know what you guys think. Which one you think is the weakest out of this faction? As I've mentioned, it's pretty hard to pick one of them and just stick with that one particular champion. Moving on to the Undead faction. A lot of OG vanilla champions in here that could benefit from a buff. Now, a lot of them can still be used in a lot of content. I feel like the only champion that I'm not using from this faction anywhere whatsoever. And the main thing is, think about it in the following way. I have an account that has all of the champions, and that's when, more or less all of the champions. And that's where you can really see the value of champions that are pretty irrelevant, because out of all of them, you never use particular champions. And from this faction, I only have one champion that I never ever use, and that is Elegias. He was a fusion as well. I feel like they've tried buffing him maybe a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. The base stats are really nice on him. Yeah, you can throw in a shield set on him, and he can help you with the progression and stuff like that. Block active skills on the A1, the chance can increase. The A2, block buffs on a target, puts the target skills on cooldown as well, which can be nice for people that don't have lockouts. But hey, we have an amazing fusion right now, which is so much better. You have Alice, which is better. Now, if there are duplicates of the enemy, he will put the skills on cooldown on all of them, right? And you have the A3, which is an AoE attack with a chance to remove 2 random buffs and a chance to decrease all enemy stir meter by 20%. That's about it. This is one of the best things in his kit, to be honest, right here. The passive can keep him alive, big deal. It doesn't do nothing after. He's instantly gonna get killed by somebody else. So I feel like he definitely needs a bit of love as well. I feel like he might be on their list. Look at these ratings, right? Probably the worst ratings I've clicked on today. Because even the Orc had slightly higher ratings. So this is the weakest, in my opinion, from this faction. And you should not invest in these champions. Definitely do not book them. Yes, if you want to level them up for whatever reason, maybe you need one of them in Faction Wars to fill the gap, do it, but do not book them. I wouldn't even get masteries on them. Dark Elves. Here we have kind of like in-between champions. Good champions, bad champions. And I know a lot of you guys probably dislike very specific champions. I feel like a lot of you guys dislike Chromax, which is a Doom Tower champion. I'm not liking him or anything like that, but at least he has an AoE provoke, right? And a decreased accuracy. He has a block buffs on a single enemy, which is not a big deal. He has the passive, which has a chance to place hacks on the attacker, decrease attack. Ultan of the Shell recently got buffed. He's still the worst, in my opinion, from this faction. He doesn't do good damage, even though he's an attack-based champion. The reviews are spot on, really accurate. I like to see that. He has a chance to land decreased speed. Everything's so conditional. If Oela is on the team, he will ignore some of the target's resistance only if she's on the same team. Then removes all the debuffs from the champion. Heals. Finally attacks an enemy and will ignore shield. Big deal. You're not doing nothing. Then an AoE sleep, which again is really weak. Sleep is the weakest form of crowd control. I wouldn't even use him, for example, in the Sun Devil's Necropolis as a sleep champion, because he's just not good. He's not really bringing anything else to the team. So I'm not a fan of this champion whatsoever, and I'm thankful every single day that I don't have him. Okay, he is the weakest out of this faction, in my opinion. He needs probably a full kit rework, but considering that I just buffed him, I feel like a month or 2 months ago, don't have high expectations. Knight Revenants. Very easy here. Very, very easy to pick the worst champion, Narma. Narma the Return. She does look pretty cool. Reminds me of X-Men characters for whatever reason. Good base stats. She's a support champion. She's not a damage dealer, so I'm not expecting her to deal crazy damage or anything like that. A chance to increase the duration of 3 random debuffs. Why not a chance to increase the duration of all debuffs on the target? That would be much better. Attacks an enemy, has a chance to land decrease attack. Heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP. The heal increases for each poison on the target on a 3-turn cooldown. That heal could get increased to like 30% of her max HP, plus the poisons, plus next to that decrease attack, maybe bring in a defense down or a weaken or a decrease speed. That could be nice. Decrease speed doesn't necessarily work on every single boss, especially progression wise. So maybe something else would be nice. Maybe an AoE attack with decrease attack and defense down. That would be really, really nice. And here, this is on a 4-turn cooldown, which sucks. A 3-turn cooldown would be better. Attacks an enemy, has a chance to place 3 poisons and a poison sensitivity. Keep in mind, this is single target. This should be an AoE skill, to be honest, and that would sort her out. Even though she wouldn't be OP, I wouldn't necessarily start using her, but at least you could pair her with other champions to either make a poison detonation team. You would have slightly better utility for the champion. But that is about it. I feel like they should definitely buff Barn. They should definitely buff Narma the Return. I mixed the names there, if you guys see what I've did. Then, moving on to the Dwarves. Right here, guys, they are a couple of them that are pretty weak sauce, right? So we have Gronjar, which kind of sucks. He's a Doom Tower champion as well. I'm not using him. He's just not great, right? But then we have Nari. Nari the Lucky, or at least that's what they call him. AoE attack with provoke and a counter attack. AoE attack with decreased accuracy and decreased resistance, and a chance to remove a random buff from the target. So I still think that he is better. He is better than Gronjar. Now, because I really think they will not buff champions from the Doom Tower, and I do think that Gronjar sucks more than the other one, because he only has the HP burn. Like, it really sucks. He's not really doing anything else whatsoever. I feel like they could make this champion way, way better, but unfortunately, I have no hopes that they will ever buff the Doom Tower champions. Maybe they will in the future, but I think it's a higher chance for Nari the Lucky to get some form of a buff. The decreased accuracy and decreased resistance is nice, but it's not a must-have in any content. It can be great progression-wise in the Hydra, or if you're encountering a boss where you're really struggling to land this. I feel like it would be nice if they would make this unresistible. Then it would be much better progression-wise, because if you're struggling with the landing debuffs on a target, you might struggle to build him with enough accuracy for him to land the debuffs as well, you know? But hey, at least he has a provoke and a counter attack. And overall, he is better than a Gronjar. Moving on to the Shadowkins. So right here, guys, we have 2 champions on my list. Tatsu and Ginro. I feel like, in a way, Ginro is better, but at the same time, he kind of sucks too. Attacks one enemy, a stun, ignores block debuffs and block damage, increase defense on the champion and a counter attack only on himself. He can provoke if the enemies under increased attack him, and that's about it. Increase the cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns. He's really not doing much, but again, this is a Doom Tower champion. Tatsu got released. He has a chance to land decreased resistance and a sleep. Sleep sucks. attacks an enemy before removes all debuffs from the champion, at least she self-buffs. But the problem is, she only self-buffs if the attack kills an enemy. So, I mean, can I self-buff before I kill the enemy? And then I can actually kill the enemy? And then make the buffs so are not removed if I kill the enemy? If that makes sense. I feel like they could definitely improve her. Her multipliers are awful as well, guys. At least she has a purpose in the game. So if you will summon a Tatsu, you know you can use her for the Mikage Fusion. Now, once you are done with the Mikage Fusion, and you're summoning a Tatsu like I did, well, she's not really gonna do much for your account, guys. But hey, that's pretty much it for this faction. And we have the Sylvan Watchers. I feel like the weakest from this faction, no questions asked whatsoever, is Ruark, Green Warden Ruark. Since they've nerfed the taunt in the Hydra clan boss as well, this becomes useless. The Shogun as well, the Shogun dungeon is really not that hard anymore. You don't really need a taunt. You can just use rare champions with unkillable, the highest crit damage in the team, and bang, you got rid of all this nonsense. He just doesn't do much. Like, this is only on himself, all of the buffs. Yeah, an AoE decrease attack, and he has a chance to steal the continuous heal buffs, and transfers all the debuffs from the champion to the target. He gets a bit of healing. The passive, really not great anywhere in the game, guys. So they definitely need to rework the champion. Maybe buff the entire team, put the taunt only on himself, even though taunt doesn't really do much. A taunt and a stone skin buff would be nice on him. At least you could use him in different areas. He will have some better survivability. Maybe some crowd controlling here, strip buffs, decrease attack after, or strip buffs and a stun, or a provoke. And I don't know, like, maybe provoke and taunt wouldn't be the best idea, but they definitely need to change this champion as well. Either way, these, in my opinion, are the worst legendary champions from each faction that I would not recommend you to build for pretty much any content, because especially if you're free to play, low spender, it's very hard to get resources to build up champions, and you will regret it eventually. I would 1000% not book them no matter what. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.